And state and may call your next witness.
State calls Heike Bybee.
I'm sorry, who?
Heike Bybee.
Heike Bybee. Statement inquire.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Will you please tell us your full name and spell your last name?
My full name is Heike Bybee, B-Y-B-E-E.
I'm going to ask you to just move a little closer to that microphone if you can. You're very soft-spoken, so please speak up if you can. And just set that microphone.
Is that better?
Thank you, ma'am. Where do you reside, Ms. Bybee?
5748 43rd Court East, Bradenton, Florida, 34203.
I'm going to ask you, do you know a woman by the name of Marcia Soul?
I don't know her personally, but I know her name.
Okay. Have you ever visited her home in Sarasota at 3296 Brockton Lane?
No, I have not.
To your knowledge, have your children, your 3 children, ever visited her home?
I don't think so.
All right. Did you ever talk to Marcia Soul over the telephone?
No, I have not.
Taking you back to October of 2016 through January of 2017, did you know her phone number or have her phone number?
No, I didn't have it or
Did
know
you
it.
ever- I'm sorry. Did you ever send any texts or emails to Ms. Soul?
No, I have not.
Was Ms. Soul invited to your house for Christmas dinner this past year?
No.
Did you ever plan to take her in any outings to Busch Gardens or other places along with your children?
No.
Did you have Marcia Soul's AOL password?
No, I did not.
Do you know a person by the name of Philomena Pereira?
Again, I know the name, but I don't know her personally.
So you never laid eyes on this woman?
No.
Did you
She
ever-
was there at the last hearing that I was there.
Did you ever communicate with her in any way, whether by email, text, or telephone conversation?
No.
Do you know a doctor by the name of Brad Lerner?
No, I don't.
Did you ever send Dr. Lerner an email?
No, I did not.
Have you heard the name Marianne Dombrow mentioned?
I did hear the name, yes.
Do you know her personally? Have you ever met her?
No, I have not.
Did you ever send her an email from your home computer or any other device in your home?
No, I did not.
Thank you. I'm going to take you back to the evening of January 11th of 2017, Mrs. Bybee, starting at approximately 6 o'clock in the evening. Can you please tell us about what was going on with your family between 6 and 7:30 that night?
6 and 7:30, I was at yoga, and I didn't come home until around 7:30.
All right. When you came home around 7:30, who was present in your home?
Frank and my 3 boys.
What did you do for the next hour or so after you came home from working out from yoga?
We got the kids, the 2 younger ones, to bed, ready for bed, and yeah.
Okay. And did there come a time when Mr. Bybee left your house?
Yes, he did.
What time was that?
I think it was around 8:30, 9-ish.
Okay. And did he tell you where he was going?
Yes, he did.
Will you please tell us what he told you about his plans for the evening?
He told me that he was going to meet a friend, Troy King.
Thank you. Can you tell us when he returned, Mrs. Bybee?
I don't know exactly the time.
All right. What time did you go to bed that night?
I went to bed around 10, 11-ish, somewhere around there.
And when you went to bed at 10 or 11, was Mr. Bybee still not home?
Correct.
Okay. Did there come a time when you realized that he had arrived home?
Yes, I was awake around 3 a.m. and he was sleeping next to me.
All right. So between the time of 8:30 when he left your house, 8:30 or 9 o'clock when he left your house, and 3 a.m. when you realized he was lying next to you in bed, did you see him at all?
No, I didn't.
Did you hear him come home? Did you hear any noises in the kitchen, for example, getting a drink of water?
No, I heard noises in the garage when I went to bed, and I assumed it was him, but I didn't know.
Okay. After you heard those noises in the garage, did you see the lights go off and on in your house?
No, I didn't.
Did you hear Frank walking around in your house?
No, I didn't.
Did you, I have nothing further. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Ms. Bybee, if in fact your husband had had discussions with Ms. Soul about inviting her over for dinner, whether it be Thanksgiving or Christmas, he would not have shared that with you? Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
I mean, in fairness, if he had those discussions with Ms. Soul, you were not a part of those discussions, correct?
Correct.
Same thing for offering to take her to Busch Gardens. You would not have been part of those discussions.
Correct.
Were you planning on going with the boys, or did you go with the boys and Frank to Busch Gardens?
We did go to Busch Gardens, yes.
Do you remember when that was?
No. Sometime we had, the fun pass, so we went frequently.
You certainly have met Troy King, correct?
Yes, I have.
At any time that evening, did you see Troy King's truck in your driveway?
No, I have not.
And I apologize because I guess that assumed that you know what he drives. Do you know what he drives?
No, I don't know what he
Okay.
drives.
That's fair. If I can have a moment.
Sure.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Redirect.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, you may step down. Subject to recall?
No.
No.
All right, ma'am, you are released from your subpoena. Thank you. State your next witness.
State calls Philomena Pereira.
Correct. Ms. Pereira, I'm going to ask you to kind of push yourself towards that microphone. We all have to hear what you're saying, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You may inquire a statement.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Ms. Pereira.
Good afternoon.
Will you please tell us your full name and spell your last name?
Sure. It's Philomena Pereira, Pereira.
Ms. Pereira, do you reside in Sarasota?
I do.
What is your occupation?
Self-employed right now.
And do you know Marcia Soul?
I do.
How do you know her?
She was a friend from church.
How long have you been acquainted with Marcia Soul?
The latter part of 2005. So I've known her since then.
Right. Would you please, aside from being acquainted with her through your church, can you please describe your relationship with her over the years?
Marcia was kind enough to kind of adopt myself, my family. I had a son who was born at 24 weeks gestation. He was 1 pound 12 ounces. Marcia worked with the priest at church. She also came and visited me at the hospital at All Children's in St. Pete's, and on a weekly basis would come and provide some respite. She would either watch Daniel, my son, or she would take me out on outings just to get me out of the hospital.
Thank you. Do you know the defendant in this case, Frankie Bybee?
Yes.
And how long have you known him, Ms. Pereira?
I met him on December, if you don't mind, I'll look.
If
Can
you
I
have
just-
something that would help you to refresh
Yes.
your recollection, you may do so.
Thank you.
But if you read it silently to yourself.
On December the 18th, 2017.
2016?
16, sorry, it's 17 now, sorry.
That's all right. Don't rush me. Where was it that you first met Frankie Bybee?
I met him at Marcia Scholl's home.
And how was it that you came to Marcia Soul's home? What was going on December 18th?
On December 17th, she came home from a rehab facility called Heartland on 12th Street. And she was on her own at the house. I called her on Sunday and asked her if she needed anything. She told me that she needed me to shop for her since she had no groceries. I went over to her home. We made a list of what she needed, and I shopped for her not only groceries, but also some of her prescription drugs that she needed. And then when I came to her house, there was a sheriff's deputy car in the driveway. And then when I was putting the groceries away, he was already in the home.
Did you have interaction with Mr. Bybee while you were there at Marcia Soul's home on that Sunday afternoon, December the 18th?
Yes.
What sort of interaction did you have with him?
A couple of things. One was while I was putting the groceries away, he and Marcia were chatting, friendly chat. I believe he was telling her to put her credit cards into the cover of her cell phone. And after I put the groceries away, when I sat there, she told him to take the dogs, toys, things that were in her home out of the house because she didn't want any reminders. Sure.
Had that dog, to your knowledge, had that dog already left Marcia Soul's home?
Yes.
Do you know who had the dog at this point?
Marcia had noted to me that it was given to Frank Bybee.
So after Marcia directed Mr. Bybee to take the dog's things, the leashes and whatever other appurtenances belonged to the dog, what happened next?
I was going to be away for the holidays, so I gave Detective Bybee my contact information just in case Marcia needed something. He could touch base with me.
Did he ask you for your contact information, or did you volunteer it?
I volunteered it.
All right. Why did you do that?
He seemed like he really wanted to help her, And because I was not going to be away, I was going to be in Maryland. It was just, I didn't think much of it at that point.
All right. Was there any further conversation after Marcia, Mrs. Soul, and Mr. Bybee talked about the dog's belongings and what to do with them?
There was also some conversation about some things in the garage that she either wanted him to remove. He informed her that he was going to take it another time, not at that point.
All right. And what was her reaction to that?
She didn't seem very happy with that. She just wanted her stuff. She didn't want any more reminders, at least of the dog.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Are you saying that she asked him to take things that belong to the dog from the garage?
I'm not sure if the things were in the house and the garage.
All right. Okay. So what she was asking him to do, no matter where it was to remove things that belong to the dog.
Correct.
Thank you. All right. And did things turn unpleasant at some point?
I left, and Mr. Bybee followed me out. He told me he would walk me out to my car.
Yes.
And while we were there, he said that, she can be hot and cold. And then we chatted for a little bit, and then I took off.
Okay.
But in the meantime, Marcia was yelling from her home, asking Frank to come back in.
Could you hear that from outdoors?
Yeah.
All right. And did Mr. Bybee make any suggestions to you about making sure that your stories meshed?
It wasn't at that point. It was after I got a call from him while I was on the road.
All right. Okay. Was that the same day?
Yes.
December 18th?
Yes. No more than about 5 or 10 minutes away.
All right. Tell the members of the jury about that telephone call from Frank Bybee as you were driving home.
He just wanted to make sure that we had our stories straight. He noted that Marcia was very upset and was claiming that we were talking about her.
All right. And did that strike you as odd that he said to you, we need to get our stories straight?
Sort of. It's just, there was no story, really. It was, we just had a conversation.
Oh, okay. Did you have further communication with Mr. Bybee after December 18th?
Yes.
When was that, Ms. Pereira?
If you don't mind, I will look at my
It would
notes.
help to refresh your recollection. Please do so.
It was on the 20th? December 20th.
December 20th of 2016?
Yes.
All right. And what form of contact did you have with him on that day?
I sent him a text asking if we could talk. And it was prompted from a email that I had received from Marcia.
All right. And what did that email consist of?
I don't have a copy of it with me, but it was difficult to read.
Was it profane?
Yes,
Was it insulting?
yes.
Was it upsetting? Did you find it upsetting?
Yes.
Was there profanity in the...
Objection leading.
Sustained.
Okay. Why did you find it upsetting to read?
There was foul language. There was sexual innuendos. I think those were the two major components.
All right, thank you. showing you what has been admitted as State's Exhibit number 16A. Will you please take a look at it?
So much for that.
Do you recognize that, Ms. Pereira?
I do.
Now, you just testified that they received that email on the 20th. After you looked at it at the header, do you realize that?
It was dated the 22nd. Yes, I did. Sorry.
So did you receive that on December 22nd?
I did.
2016? And could you read the header for us, please?
Subject says, give to Frank, but do not open.
Do you feel that it's necessary to call Frank by name?
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat the question?
You received this email on December 22nd. Why did you feel that it was necessary, or why did you feel compelled to call Frank?
It was addressed to him, or in the subject matter, I was asked to give it to him.
And did you show it to anyone else?
I read it to my sister.
Okay. Did you ever show it to a woman by the name of Marianne Dombrow?
Yes.
When did you show that to Marianne Dombrow?
I forwarded it to her a little, somewhere during that week. I don't know, I don't remember, I don't recall exactly.
Well, let's think about that. You said that you went away for the Christmas holidays, is that right?
Correct.
When did you leave town?
I left Sarasota on the 19th, and I went up to Tampa, and on the 19th I flew to Maryland.
All right, so did you receive this email in Maryland?
Yes,
All right. And while you were still in Maryland, did you forward that email not only to Frank Bybee, but also to Marianne Dombrow?
I know I forwarded it to Frank Bybee. I do not recall exactly when I forwarded it to Marianne Dombrow.
Right. Did, at some point, not necessarily on December 22nd, did Marianne Dombrow share with you any emails that appeared to be authored by Marcia Soul?
It was in January, actually. She and I had met on January the 4th. We had lunch together, and at that point she shared with me an email, it was an email that looked like a suicide note from Marcia.
Thank you.
16B. Or maybe C.
Ms. Pereira, I'm showing you what has been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 16B. Can you look at that, please? Do you recognize that, Ms. Pereira?
Yes.
Would that email message help you with your testimony describing what you received from Marianne Dombrow?
She actually handed it to me at lunch.
Was that a hard copy on a piece of paper?
A hard copy on a piece of paper, just like
Does that
that.
help you?
Yes.
Did you share that email with Frank Bybee?
No,
All right, thank you. Did you text Bybee on January 11th and tell him that Marcia had returned from Riverside Behavioral Facility in Punta Gorda?
yes.
All right. What time did you send him that information, Ms. Pereira?
I don't recall the exact time, but I know I did it that day.
All right. If you can think about it for just a minute, how did you know that Marcia came, or how did you know that Miss Soul came home?
Mary Ann Dambro informed me.
Did you ever see Marcia yourself personally
No.
that day? All right. After you texted Bybee on January 11th that Marcia Soul had returned to her home, did he respond in any way or contact you?
No. Not that I recall.
All right. Did there come a time when you were asked to meet with detectives from the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office as part of an internal investigation into Frank Bybee?
Actually, the call came in just as I was having lunch on January 4th with Mary Ann Dambro.
Did you share that information with Mary Ann Dombrow that they wanted
Yes.
to talk to you about Frank?
In fact, she had received a call. She told me, and that,
What she told.
Please don't
Yeah,
say what she told you.
gotcha, sorry.
So on January 4th, you were having lunch with Marcia Soul, and did you
No, it was with Mary Ann Dambro.
I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. You were having lunch with Mary Ann Dombrow. Did you receive a call from the sheriff's office?
Yes,
And did they ask you to come in and talk to them?
yes,
Did you arrange with the sheriff's office to come in and speak to them regarding Frank Bybee?
yes,
Did you tell Mr. Bybee that you had been contacted by the sheriff's office regarding an internal affairs investigation about him?
yes.
When did you tell him about that?
I believe that afternoon.
That very afternoon that they called you? Did Mr. Bybee give you any advice about what you should do with regard to your interview by the detectives from the Sarasota Sheriff's Office?
He indicated that I should delete our text messages.
The text messages between you and Frank Bybee?
Yes,
And did you do so?
some of them I did, but yeah.
May I have a moment?
Okay.
Nothing else, thank you.
Thank you. Cross?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
When would you have received, when did you talk and go in and talk to the sheriff's office?
January 5th.
January 5th? And you would have spoke to Mr. Bybee, what time? Before going?
I don't recall.
You have a little book with dates. When did you create that?
Just a couple of days ago, so that I would remember some of the highlights.
Okay. And what did you use to create that book with dates?
Just my calendar.
Because when you were previously interviewed by law enforcement, you didn't have that book with dates, right?
Correct.
And you at times had difficulty coming up with what a particular date assigned to a particular day of the week. Is that fair?
Yes.
And I'm assuming then that's why you figured, hey, I'm going to be asked about this again. I better get it straight. I'll jot down some notes in the book. Is that fair?
It's fair.
Okay. Ms. Pereira, you've known Ms. Soul for approximately a decade, correct?
Correct.
You were aware, I take it, that in October of 16, she was Baker acted?
Correct.
Did Ms. Soul reach out to you in that October 2016 Baker Act and ask for your help?
She asked another friend to touch base with me.
Okay, so she reached out to a third person who then reached out to you.
Correct.
Were you then able to get in touch with Ms. Soul?
I was.
Do you recall where she was at that time?
She was at Bayside.
Did you visit her at Bayside?
I did. I tried to, but I wasn't allowed to go in.
That was because your son was with you.
Correct.
And there was a bit of a restriction because your son was with you.
Correct.
All right. During that visit, or during that time at Bayside, Ms. Soul, did she ask you to bring items to her from her house? Or
She
was
asked
that
me
another
to-
time?
She asked me to take things for her
Okay. Where did you get it?
from the nurses from Bayside. They had her jewelry and her phone.
Okay. And Ms. Soul wanted you to take those with you so that they weren't there at Bayside. Is that fair?
I would think so.
Did you take those items and bring those to her house? Or did you bring them somewhere else?
I actually may have taken them home that day.
Did you have access to her house?
Well, yes.
How?
There's a key that she leaves in a little holder.
For people to use to get in when she's not there?
Well, she's told me to use it when she's not there.
Certainly. And that's how she would allow you to have access to her house when she was, for example, in a facility.
Correct.
So, do you recall bringing those items to her?
I eventually did.
Eventually did.
Yeah.
And she was not home when you did that.
Correct.
But she had given you authorization to go in to her home.
Yes.
Okay. Was there another time in December where Ms. Soul was in a second facility and she requested you to bring items to her?
Yes.
Do you recall when that was?
It was December the... If you don't mind, I need to look at a calendar.
If that'll refresh your memory, please, and then tell us when you're done with it.
It's December the 16th.
Okay. Is that the day she asked you to come to a facility she was in?
No, I went to visit her on that day
At her home?
at the facility.
Which facility was that, ma'am?
Heartland on
Heartland.
12th Street.
Okay, so different than the Bayside facility.
Correct.
And did you know that she had, that she was at Heartland? Or was there communication via phone and she told you she was there?
Via communication over the phone, and she told me she was there.
And she requested you to bring some items from her home to her, is that right?
She requested on the 16th, Friday the 16th,
Yes, ma'am?
because I knew she was there, I went to visit her.
Okay,
On the 16th, while I was there, she asked me if I could bring a couple of things to her on the 17th
from her home.
from her home.
So a second time you had to go to her home and retrieve the items she was requesting you to bring.
Correct.
Do you recall what those items were?
hairbrush or hair dryer, some hair thing.
Yes, ma'am?
She also asked me to pick up a binder that was on her table.
Yes, ma'am? Did you recall within that binder there was a will?
Yes,
Did you find those items and
Yes.
bring them to her?
yes,
Did you bring her home from that Heartland?
on this, I did not bring her home. There was a transport that brought her home, but yes, she came home that day.
And that's when you were there, and I think you told us you went and got some groceries and some prescriptions.
The following day,
Following it. Would that be the Sunday, the 18th?
yes,
Okay. So when you went and got groceries and prescriptions for her, did you use your own money, or did she give you access to either a credit card or an ATM for you to make those purchases?
she provided that,
Provided what?
a credit card,
To you.
yes,
And I take it also then gave you authorization to sign her name.
yes.
Was that something that had happened for just one time, or is that something that you were accustomed to with Miss Soul?
That was the first and only time.
Okay. Went and purchased groceries, picked up prescriptions, used her credit card, signed for both, and brought them back.
Yes,
Okay. Now, when you, let me ask you about this. Shouldn't have jumped off, but let's go back to October, the visit on October, the Bayside visit. Did you bring her home from that facility?
yes.
If she went in October 21, do you recall ballpark when you would have brought her home?
That Wednesday,
Do you remember the date? You need to refresh your memory with
no, sorry, I only have a 2017 calendar, and
That's okay. Sometime, clearly a number of days after October 21st. Is that fair?
yes,
Okay. When you brought her home from Bayside, do you recall once you got home that she had some interactions with a landscaper, gardener?
yes. It wasn't a gardener, it was someone from a water company.
Yes, ma'am.
There was a leak at the side of her, the front of her lawn.
Yes,
On
ma'am.
the front.
And your recollection was that she was a bit irate. Do you recall
She was upset.
that? Okay. Do you recall while you were with her, how long do you think you were with her that day? You brought her home October from Bayside. How long do you think you were there that day?
Less than a half hour.
Do you recall during the time that you were with her that she was upset about someone named Bill who had stolen some credit cards, or she thought had stolen some credit cards?
It wasn't credit cards. She thought he had taken money that was
Taking
in
money.
it.
Okay. Was Bill there?
No,
But you recall that was an issue for her, correct?
yes,
And also, do you recall she was complaining about someone had moved or taken her keys? Same guy, Bill.
car keys, I believe.
All right. All right, it's your recollection that Mr. Bybee called you on the phone on December 18th after you met him and he walked you out to your car and you'd left. Is that correct?
Correct.
So certainly, if that call occurred, we would expect to see that in phone records. Is that right?
I should think so.
Did you, in your 10-plus years of friendship with Miss Soul, did she ever try to give you money?
No.
Did she ever try to tell you what to do with your life, issues?
Sometimes.
How would you describe her personality? I think you told Miss Fravelin that she was hot and cold. What does that mean?
She had some really good days, and then she didn't.
Not necessarily uncommon for someone her age. Is that fair?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
I'll withdraw.
Confidence.
Thank you.
You ever experienced personality that you saw in Miss Soul with anyone else?
She would get upset, but, you know,
Objection.
My question
Not
was-
answering.
Sustained.
My question was, you ever experienced the personality that you met with Miss Soul with anyone else?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
Ma'am?
yes.
Okay. Clearly, your friendship was such that she would turn to you or rely on you to help her, as you've described to us, by bringing her home from Bayside or going and get groceries and those type of things, correct?
That was most recently.
All right. Was that out of the norm? Really?
For her, yes.
Okay. So most of your 10 years of association with Miss Soul wasn't in that capacity. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Your capacity was church, you'd go to lunches, sometimes dinners. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. But only recently she was asking a little more of your friendship.
Yes.
Okay. If I may just have one moment.
Right.
One more question, ma'am. Do you recall Miss Soul giving you money for sitting with her at one of the facilities?
She gave me, actually on December what did we decide it was? Sorry.
That's okay. And you're looking at a calendar again? to
I was
refresh your
looking,
memory?
yes, I am looking at a calendar.
Okay.
December the 16th,
Yes, ma'am.
she gave me a check
For what?
for Christmas. As
How
a
much?
Christmas gift,
How much?
$500.
Any other time?
No.
That's all I have, Reverend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Redirect state.
Yes. During your 10 years of friendship with Marcia Soul, did she ever give you any other money besides that $500 gift for Christmas?
She would buy outfits for Daniel when he was younger.
All right, but my question is,
No.
did she ever give you any cash or checks?
No.
Did she ever give you a check for $50,000 throughout the 10 years that you knew her?
No.
Did she ever write a check to your children for $5,000?
No.
The reason that Ms. Soul came to ask for your assistance over the last months between October and January because she was in a facility
Yes.
and because she was becoming increasingly frail?
Yes.
Did she have difficulty walking?
Yes.
Thank you, nothing further.
Thank you. Ma'am, you may step down. Thank you very much. Subject to recall.
No.
She is, Your Honor, but if I could step out with her, I don't have a contact.
All right. Why don't you, on your way by, would you just stop at Mr. Kapir's desk, give him a contact number? You are still subject to further testimony, ma'am, so please don't discuss your testimony with any other parties that may or may not be witnesses in this case. Just keep it all to yourself, okay?
Okay, thank
Or
you.
just stop and give him a contact number on the
Sure.
way out. Call your next witness, State.
State calls Jerry Wagner.
Mr. Capiers, Mr. Capiers, do you intend to call Ms. Pereira again today?
Oh, no.
I think she's still sitting out there. She can be, Ms. Pereira can go home. She's just she'll be contacted if she's needed.
Thank you.
I saw her sit down, and I didn't want her sitting out there for the next hour or so.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let me inquire.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wagner.
Hello.
Will you please tell us your occupation? First of all, spell your name and tell us your last name.
Jerry Wagner, Jerrywagner.
And what is your occupation, Mr. Wagner?
I'm employed with Sarasota County Sheriff's Office as a crime scene analyst.
How long have you been employed with the Sheriff's Office?
I've been to this agency in that position for 4.5 years. Before that, I worked for Sarasota Police Department for another 4.5 years in the same position.
Tell the members of the jury your educational background, please.
I have a Associate's of Science degree from Kaiser University in crime scene technology. I also did a 3-month internship with the Sheriff's Office in the crime scene unit. I am a certified crime scene analyst through the IAI, which is the International Association of Identification.
That certification that you spoke of, what are the requirements to be certified?
For that level of certification, you have to have at least a minimum of 3 years experience, a minimum of 96 hours of training over a 5-year period, and you have to pass a 300 question written test, and you also have to get recertified every 5 years. I was certified in 2014.
Right. And your certification is up to date?
Correct. I have to recertify in 2019.
Do you also participate in continuing education as a forensic technician?
Yes, I do. As I mentioned, you have to have a minimum of 96 hours over 5 years. I have approximately 466 hours over the last 8 years of continuing education courses.
How did you first become involved with this case, Mr. Wagner?
On January 12, 2017, I was contacted by my supervisor, crime scene supervisor Matthews, and requested to respond to 3296 Brockton Lane, reference I call.
Was anyone present there at 3296 Brockton Lane when you arrived on the scene?
Yes, when I arrived on scene, outside of the residence was Supervisor Matthews, Detective Gata, and Sergeant Shurtleff.
And Supervisor Matthews, is she your supervisor at the forensics unit?
Yes, she is.
What were your first assignments once you arrived at the crime scene?
When I arrived on scene, the first thing I do is I try to get as much information as I can regarding the case. Everything from what the case number is to a synopsis of what we have, what the detective may have at that time, what they believe happened, victims' names, suspects' names, anything that I can possibly get that's going to help me throughout investigating the scene.
As part of your, and this is a little early to ask this question, I think, but did there come a time during your entire forensics investigation that you created a floor plan of Ms. Soul's home?
Yes, I did.
you are describing the evidence would help you in your testimony. I'd like
Okay.
to first take a look at what's been admitted into evidence. What's the exhibit number 12? Do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, I do. This is the digital floor plan that I created.
Would this help you in your testimony?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. Well, and I'd like you to just give a description of the victim's home to the point here. First, starting at Brockman Lane. Show the jury where Brockman Lane is situated.
Brockman Lane is going to be at the top here. It goes around and then it has an intersection that leads over in this area here. The driveway to the residence is in front of the garage. And then you walk through this aisleway or hallway to the front door of the residence.
That aisleway or hallway, is that an outdoor area or is that enclosed like a room?
It has like an awning roof area above it, but no enclosure in the front. There's just two metal gates that would hang open. So it's not fully enclosed.
Is it open to here?
Yes, it is.
Point out the
Front door is right here. It opens up inside.
please point out the living room.
Living room, when you come in through the front door, you would take an immediate right. And then that you have an open area which consists of the living room and the dining room both. The living room where she had furniture, couch, chairs, stuff like that was over here in this side of the room.
Are the living room and dining room separated by walls or any kind of furniture, or do they just kind of blend into each other?
They just blend into each other. There is a dining room table that is right in this area, but there's nothing in between this space here that divides them.
I'd also like you to point out the home office or the office area.
Right down here in the bottom, it's off of the dining room.
Can you tell the members of the jury what is in that office area?
There's several items in there. There's a long, looked like it was an attached desk to the wall on the east side of the wall along here. There was a computer on it with the computer monitor. There were some filing cabinets in there, some little bookshelves with some knickknacks on it.
I'd like to turn your attention to the living room once again and tell us about windows, if any, in the living room.
There were two windows in the living room. I have them designated with the little square here. There's a W there, maybe a little hard to see from there. Here is where a blue chair would be. There was a couch along this wall. There was a coffee table over here. And then there was a TV over here, and I believe another chair over here. I'd have to double check the photographs.
We'll look at some photographs in a few minutes, but I'd like you to tell us that window that is the most northerly window in the living room.
Yes, this one right here
Yes.
is the most northern one. It's on the east side of the wall. And that faces towards, how I was talking before, where there's an intersection up here. I'd have to look at my notes to remember the Spring Mill Circle, and I forget the name of the other road that goes through there.
We'll look at some photographs in a few minutes, but did you have an opportunity while you were doing the investigation to look out of that northerly window in the living room?
Yes, I did. I photographed from the exterior of the window, showing towards that intersection, and then I also went inside and photographed through the blinds going there. So at one point, I just kind of had slits in the blinds so you could photograph through it, and then at one point, I opened the blinds entirely up to make it easier for you to see through there.
From your vantage point in the living room, if you were conducting your investigation, did you have a clear view through that window onto the intersection that is around the corner of the garage?
Yes, I did.
Let's now turn to the garage, the kitchen and garage area, please.
So here is the kitchen. You would gain access. There's two different entryways there. There's one right from this hallway, and then one from the dining room. And then from there is one entrance from the kitchen into the garage.
Let's look at the entrance from the kitchen and the garage. Can you tell us what kind of a door separates the garage area from the kitchen?
It looked like it was a wooden door with a small window in the top part of it.
And on the northern side of the garage, is there a traditional garage door that lifts up and down?
Yes, there is.
It's electrically propelled control.
Yes, it had an electric button right when you go in from the side here. Along this wall here was a button to open the door.
All right. When you arrived at the scene of 3296 Brockton Lane, did you take photographs of Miss Soul?
Yes, I did.
I'm showing you what have been marked and admitted into evidence as states 5A, 5B, 5C, 5D, and 5E. Take a look at those, Mr. Reddy. Are you able to tell us what time you took these photographs?
What time, I do not know. I'd have to look at the metadata on the disc. They were during the first day that I was there. I just don't know the exact time without looking at the metadata.
And did you arrive there approximately 10 o'clock?
Can I double check my notes? I believe it was later. I arrived on scene at 12:09.
12:09, and how long were you there that day? Is that what you were?
Yes, I was there approximately, roughly 4 hours, 4.5 hours.
Did you take these photographs on the same day?
Yes, I
The
did.
first day of your investigation?
Yes.
Look first at state exhibit 5D. Did you take that photograph?
Yes, I did.
Why are you using a ruler?
It makes it easier when someone else is looking at the photograph that they can see the size of what I'm photographing. If I just have a photograph of someone's face, you can't put a size to it, or I want to show the red dots and marks that are on her face. That way you have a clear idea of how big they are. Otherwise, it's all about perception. You could see them as being huge or small, just depends on what your interpretation of it is.
Is that standard operating procedure when you are taking photographs of injuries?
Yes, it is.
Let's look next at state exhibit 5, E as in eagle. Can you please point out the red dots that you described in the photograph?
Okay. So on the first photograph, I was focusing more around the mouth. You can see there's a bunch of little red dots here going across. Also on the cheek here, all these little red dots. And then she's got a little bit of redness going to her nose along here.
Were you also able to see, not just in this photograph, but also with the naked eye, injury to the bridge of the nose?
Yes, I was.
Let's look at her right eyebrow. What do we see on her right eyebrow? The arch between her eyebrow and her nose?
So at the top here,
That's the left eyebrow?
That's the left eyebrow.
Oh, sorry, left eyebrow. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So right up here in this area, and also on the eyelid, was what appeared to be dried blood.
take Exhibit 5C. What is significant about this photograph?
So in this photograph, I'm wanting to photograph the gown. There are some areas of dried blood on the gown also, but I'm also showing she's wearing a bracelet, she's wearing a medical bracelet down here, and what appears to be a spot of blood on the medical bracelet.
Did you retrieve that medical bracelet as part of your forensic investigation and put it into property?
Yes, I did.
Did you have an opportunity to process that medical bracelet?
Yes, I believe I swabbed it for possible DNA if we needed it at a later time.
Did you also look at it to observe anything that was positive on the bracelet?
Just for the blood that I saw on there.
That's what I mean. Did you notice with your eye or with your microscope that there?
With my eye, I was physically able to see the blood that was on there prior to swabbing it. I have no gloves over here. Oh.
Now showing you the mark for identification as state exhibit number 27. You recognize it?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us what it is?
This is the bag for the medical bracelet that we were just speaking of. Being a possible DNA, we package it into brown paper. It has my seals on it. I put my initials, my agency ID number, and the date that I'm sealing it. It also has our evidence barcode label on there. And then this particular item, I had to open it up again, so I have my initials, ID number, and date that I resealed it on the back.
Would you please open that?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I haven't removed it. Your Honor, I now offering State's Exhibit 27 into evidence.
No objection.
No objection. 27 is entered and may be published.
Just hold that up nice and high because I know it was the bio heavy. Did you remove that from the wrist of Marcia Soul?
Yes, I did.
Is it the same bracelet that's depicted in this photograph?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. You can put it back. Now, you mentioned that you collected it and swabbed it for possible DNA.
Correct.
And we'll talk about whether or not you submitted items to the forensic lab for testing. But were there other items of evidence that you gathered while you were there on January 12th?
Yes, I did.
All right, can you tell us what those other items are?
Can I refer to my notes to refresh my memory?
Yes.
I do know that there were spots of blood that were on the blue chair in the living room. There was a spot up by the head area of the chair. There were 2 spots on the right side of the chair towards the bottom. Swabbed all 3 of those areas. There was a blue towel that was in the chair that Miss Soul used to sit on. Could visibly see some blood on that item, so I collected the blue towel. To the right of the chair on the floor was a tan checker pattern dish towel. That was collected. There were crushed up blue pills on the floor and a pill bottle on the floor, so I collected those. I did a presumptive blood test on the kitchen sink, just based on statements that were provided. A presumptive blood test is just a test. We use some chemicals. We'll swab an area of suspected blood, and it will give us either an indication that there is a presence of blood or an indication that there isn't a presence of blood. It doesn't tell us that it's human or animal or anything like that, just that the sink did show a positive indication for blood. So I collected a sample from the kitchen sink.
Now, you mentioned that blue chair. These photographs that are State Exhibit 6A and 6B. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, I did.
Did you take those photographs?
Yes, I did.
Are these photographs a fair and accurate representation of the blue chair that you just mentioned to the jury?
Yes, it is.
Would looking at these photographs help you in explaining the swabs that you took from the blue chair and other evidence that you collected in this case?
Yes, they would.
Let's first at case 6A. All right, Mr. Ryder, let's talk about the blue chair and that blue towel that's lying on it.
So here's the blue chair I was speaking of. 2 drops of blood that I was mentioning are over on this side of the chair. And then up at the top where it's kind of cut off in this photograph, but there's a little spot of blood up there that I swabbed as well. Here's the blue towel. Ms. Soul said that she typically sat on that towel. While doing the investigation, noticed that there was some blood on the towel, so collected that if we needed it at a later time. Here is the checkered dish towel that I spoke of that I collected. And then on the floor you can see like these bluish green looking dots here. Those are actually pills. Some of them are crushed and in the grout. And then here is the pill bottle that I referred to.
I'm sorry if you already mentioned this. Did you also tell members of the jury that you collected this blue nightgown at the Soul's grave when you arrived?
Yes, I did collect that nightgown before she was transported to the hospital. This is a close-up area of the pills, the pill bottle. There is a little drop of suspected blood right here in the grout, just showing that the pills are scattered on the floor. There is a pill bottle. On the blue towel, you can kind of see some of the blood on the towel there. So it's just a closer-up view of the previous photograph.
Thank you. Look first at State Exhibit number 26. Do you recognize that together?
Yes, I do. This is the packaging for the nightgown that Ms. Soul was wearing.
Please tell us how you are able to identify.
One, as the previous packaging, we have our property evidence label on here. It says what it is. It has a barcode on there. It says who submitted it. I submitted it, so it has that information on there. On the seal of the bag, it has my ID and initials, and it also has the date that it was sealed. In this particular instance, this was sent to an outside lab for analysis, so it also has their seal on here as well. showing that, yes, they opened it, they resealed it when they were completed with it.
Where I'm now offering State's Exhibit 26. It's been marked for identification as 26 into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection. 26 is entered and may be published at your discretion.
Thank you. Once you have that, I'm going to ask you to speak up and display it to the members.
Okay. Did you want me to walk down?
I'm going to ask the judge. Your Honor, may he step down and just walk across the members of the jury? As high as you can so jury members can inspect it from where they are. Thank you. And could you please turn it around? Thanks, Mr. Wagner. You may return it to its package. Now showing you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 28. Do you recognize that by your markings?
Yes, I do.
Left?
Yes, I do. Same markings as before. Evidence label on here. Evidence tape with my initials, ID, and date that it was sealed. Same thing in this case. It was sent to an outside lab, so it has their seal on here also after they completed their analysis.
Your Honor, I'm offering it to evidence State's Exhibit number 28.
Your Honor, I didn't hear what it was.
Blue checkered dish towel.
No. White and brown checkered dish towel.
Oh,
No
white
objection.
brown.
No objection having been heard. 28 is admitted, may be published.
Will you please display that to the members of the jury? From your seat.
This was sent off to the lab for analysis. Can I refer to their notes to say if they found?
Showing you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 29. recognize the markings?
Yes, I do. The packaging for the blue towel that was on the chair has same information as before with the label on there with the barcode, the other information on there. It has a seal on the back with my initials, ID, and date that it was sealed. And then I also opened up an additional time, so it has another seal with my initials, ID, and date that it was sealed at that time.
I'm offering into evidence State Exhibit number 29.
No objection.
No objection having been heard, so 29 is agreed.
Open that up and explain to the jury, please. Thank you. Did you detect the presence of blood on that blue towel, Mr. Wagner?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. You may return it to its package when you're through. While you were conducting your forensic investigation at Ms. Soul's home, did you take photographs of her garage?
Yes, I did.
I'm showing you what had been marked for identification as states 31A, B, C, and D. Did you take those photographs?
Yes, I did.
Are those photos an accurate reflection of Martha Soul's garage when you took those photographs back on January 12th, 2017?
Yes, they are.
Further, I'm offering into evidence 31A, 31B, 31C, and 31D.
No objection.
No objection having been heard, 31A, B, C, and D are admitted and may be published at your convenience.
Okay.
State Exhibit 31A. Tell the members of the jury what we are looking at in this photograph, please.
And this photograph is into the garage from the kitchen. You can see the edge of the door. There's a handle there that I was talking about that opens up. White cars in the single car garage. There's several items in front. The main thing you can see right here is there's the recycle bins that are kind of in front of the car. And there's a trash bag hanging up over here. Just photographing it in there, showing that it is a tight space inside that garage.
Please point out some of the features in this photograph and the reason that tell us the reason that you took this photograph.
This is also from inside the kitchen, photographing towards the garage, just showing that it's relatively tight space here. You have the recycle bins that are in the walkway, and that was the primary focus on that photograph.
I'd like you to point out for the members of the jury the lifting garage door that enters out onto the street.
Okay. So back behind the car, right here, is the regular roll-up garage door that would open up so you could back the car out of the garage.
Finally, we'll look at statements of the 31B. And again, the purpose of taking this photograph.
One, it's an overall photograph of the garage. One thing you can notice down here is the recycle bins are almost up against the car. Down here, there is a narrow path going towards the garage door back here.
Did you also take photographs of that living room and window that you pointed out to us in the floor plan that you've created for this presentation?
Yes, I did.
Showing you what have been marked for identification. States Exhibit 40A, 40B, 40C, 40D, 40E, 40F, and 40G. Please look close. Do these photographs fairly and accurately depict Ms. Soul's living room and the view from her window in her living room out onto the street in the surrounding neighborhood?
Yes, it does.
We're offering into evidence states 40A through 40G.
No objection.
No objection having been heard. States 40A through G are admitted and may be published at your discretion.
This is from inside the living room, photographing towards that northeastern-most window of the living room, just showing position of it compared to the room.
Using Florian's members of the jury, and I know it's not a photograph, but where is the blue chair that you recently talked about in the living room?
Blue chair would be down below this couch here, maybe 4 or 5 feet away at the corner of the wall.
Please also, for the record, point out the coffee table.
So right here is the coffee table. It's only got part of it in the photograph, but right there is the coffee table.
That's criminal, that's basically a 40B. And again, I'm just going to ask you to orient members of the jury to the couch, the northernmost window, and the blue chairs.
So over here is that northern window that we showed in the last photograph. Here's the couch that you could see, and there's a little bit of a separation with a end table in between, and then you have your chair and the coffee table right here.
Attorney has to state the 40C. What do we see here, Mr. Wagner?
At this point, I'm doing a closer-up photograph of the window that was in question. This is how it was when I arrived on scene, showing that you can still see light through the blinds. Just that's the way she typically kept her blinds.
Did you also take a photograph of the blinds?
Yes, I did. Yeah, so as stated, this is the same window. The previous one, you could see some light going through there, but it's a little hard to see all the way through what's going on, especially when you have a camera and trying to get the whole lens in there. So what I did is I just opened up the blinds entirely, photographed through there. In this particular photograph, you lose the stop signs because the bar is blocking it, but the stop signs for the intersection would be right over here. And this is, like I said earlier, I had taken one photograph with the blinds all the way open. This one I had it closed, but just kind of open up the blinds to where it had the slats going through. In this case, because I know the last photograph cut off some of the signs, I just stood a little bit lower so that you could see where the street signs is for the intersection, and then down that other street there somewhat.
How is this related to the photograph that you saw?
This is the intersection that was the signs for the intersection. Yes, the street that she lived on was Brockton Lane, but at the intersection it split up into, if I recall correctly, Village Green goes north and south, whereas Spring Mill was the road that went to the east of that intersection. So when you're looking through the photograph, you're looking at the photograph I took of the intersection, Spring Mill Circle was the one that kept going down that road.
Finally, state exhibit 40G. Describe what we see in this photograph.
This is standing on the outside of the residence along that east wall in front of where that window was. Here I'm just photographing back over. You can see the street sign there for the intersection and showing this Spring Mill Circle that goes down this direction. For this particular photograph, I did zoom in a little bit better just so you could see the street signs a little bit better and see the intersection better.
I'm showing you what have been marked for identification as states 34A, 34B, 34C, 34D. Will you look at those for me? 34A through D, an accurate reflection, 34A through 34E, an accurate reflection of Marcia Soul's home office or office as you observed when you were conducting your forensic investigation?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor, I'm offering into evidence States Exhibit 34A, 34B, 34C, 34D, and 34E.
No objection.
No objection having been heard. 34A through E are admitted and may be published for discretion.
A through which, Your Honor?
E is in Edward.
Yes, sir, thank you.
I saw some of those photos in the Wagner folder that you had open. A couple of those photos were in the folder you had open originally, the Wagner one. The one that says Wagner? I don't know if all of them were, but I saw a couple of them there. This is the office area where we were talking about earlier that had her computer in it with filing cabinets, stuff like that. So in this case, I'm taking an overall image of the computer. We were getting ready to collect the computer, so I always want to document any items before I start moving them, taking them. Yes, it is. So here I was just showing all the wiring that was down here. The flash got blocked a little bit, so there's some shadow there, but just trying to photograph all the wiring that was down there. There's a trash can blocking the way, show the modem that was standing here.
And let's look at the far right photograph and tell us what we're looking at far right.
Up here we have the keyboard for the computer.
That's the left.
Oh. Okay, sorry. That's one of the filing cabinets I mentioned earlier. The filing cabinet is open, just showing that it has files in there. In this case, you can read tax and some other documents in there.
Were they Ms. Soul's financial records in that cabinet?
Yes, they were.
Were those also readily accessible and corrupted for the conductor investigation?
Yes, they were. Just another image of the computer. This one I was taking a close-up of the keyboard. just showing that there are some stickers on the monitor itself. The monitor is powered on. Like I said, just photographing stuff prior to moving it.
D.
It's an oath. At this point, I had turned the monitor around to start disconnecting the monitor in order to collect it. Just photographing all the pages, all the little papers and stuff that are stuck to it. We didn't want to take those with. We wanted to just photograph, yes, there was stuff there. We were only interested in the electronics, so we took those off and left those there on scene for Ms. Saul.
Did you gather her home computer and put it in property and as we go to digital forensics people in the organization?
Yes, it did.
Final state exhibit 34E.
This
Taking that photograph.
just so that the monitor was on and what screen it was on at that time. Just so that if they have any questions when they go to do their digital forensics analysis on it, we can say, well, it was on, this is what was on at the time. That way if they need it.
In addition to taking those photographs that you showed us here this afternoon, did you do any other work with regard to that crime scene on Thursday, January 12th of 2017?
Did collect a swabbed a set of keys that was on a hook next to the garage door, the one from the kitchen going into the garage. On that date or at that scene.
Did you take Ms. Buckleswab later that day?
Yes, I ended up responding to Sarasota Memorial Hospital and collecting buccal swabs from Ms. Soul.
What is a buccal swab?
Basically, it's like to take a big Q-tip, rub the inside of your cheek. It's going to pull off skin cells and saliva, and that is what the lab would use in order for a DNA comparison. So it pulls off skin cells. They then analyze it, break it down, and come up with your DNA.
And I'm going to digress for just a minute, but did you also gather buccal swabs of others in this case?
Yes, I did.
Whose buccal swabs did you gather?
Mr. Frank Bybee.
Did you also gather buccal swabs from Troy King?
Yes, I did.
All right. And what was the purpose of gathering the buccal swabs from those three people?
Based on the information from the investigation, Ms. Soul, she was the victim, so we obviously want to be able to have her DNA. We're sending items that belong to her to the lab for analysis. So that's just to show whether if they get an unknown profile, especially if it's female, they can eliminate her as being on that item. Mr. Bybee was because of being the alleged suspect in the case. We wanted to make sure to have his DNA and have that compared. Troy King came into play because of information throughout the investigation. So we wanted to have his DNA also for elimination or comparison purposes.
And was that information because Mr. King had switched trucks with... On January 14th of 2017, did you conduct further forensic investigation in this case?
Yes, I did.
What did you do?
May I refer to my notes, specify exactly which?
Yes.
Yes, on 14th, I went to 5748 43rd Court East. I was advised that was Frank Bybee's residence.
Did you take photographs there as well?
Yes, I did.
Can I see counsel at sidebar, please? All right, folks, we're a little bit past the bewitching hour, so I'm going to let you go. He's going to be back up on stand tomorrow for a few minutes, but in the cross-examination, all right, so I want to see. I don't know how you do it. We are going to reconvene tomorrow morning at the usual hour of 9 o'clock. And once again, we want to please don't go into this case. With that, I will see you all tomorrow. Counsel at sidebar, please.